Grand afternoon and welcome to True Grit, um, a channel that is aimed at specifically but not exclusively or entirely at the survivors and descendants of the Windrush transportations. It's about honouring the birthright and inheritance that has been bequeathed, that's been left to contemporary Caribbean people. I want to do that to the Caribbean. I could be using terms such as Black British or African Caribbean, but I'm being specific about Caribbean. And it's about also the channel is about restoring and a renaissance and a restoration of the birthright and inheritance, and also acknowledging the indigenous and Aboriginal and organic nature of those Caribbeans, not entirely and not fully, but in many ways. The link that we have as Caribbeans to the British Isles then. And just to sort of say that Britain means land of the covenant and British means people of the covenant. And you can do, I'll be saying more about that on the channel. I was going to say you can go and do some research, but I'll be presenting some of that research here on this channel. And I'll be making links and connections to that divine birthright and inheritance that belongs to, and I'll be making not so much the case in the argument, but presenting the facts that support, or the evidence rather, to support the facts of what it is that I'm saying about the people from the Caribbean that are here now are descendants of the indigenous and are the descendants of the indigenous and Aboriginals to these islands and to Europe too. True Brit is based upon, it's a bit of a take on the idea of a True Grit, a Western, a cowboy film, if you will. John Wayne was in it, as I believe. So it's a play on that notion, and the picture, people don't realize that, the first cowboys didn't look like John Wayne. White Earp, as an example, came from Derby, and we've all assumed that he wasn't as melanated. He wasn't melanated at all, but that is probably not the case, because the original cowboys were, as it's turning out. The evidence is out there, and I'll be providing some of this evidence to show that the original cowboys look like me and look like the picture that is on the thumbnail of this channel. So I just want to do a quick introduction to this channel by saying that that's part of the focus, but also it's a bit of an extension or two previous channels that I've had that have been taken down that were connected to the Dun Ramping Coalition. I'm mentioning it here, and hopefully they won't take this one down either, because one of the things that we were doing on that channel, which I'm doing here also, was to look at notions of sovereignty alongside being indigenous, Aboriginal and organic to Europe and to these islands, and providing the evidence for that. But it's also about how, as indigenous, organic and sovereign divine beings, to challenge through comprehending the differences between, i.e. legal and lawful, de jure and de facto, infringements upon and of inalienable and unalienable rights, allodial titles, and birthrights and hereditaments. So it's about challenging the status quo, or what it is that the narrative that we're being given about who we are as people from the Caribbean, and why it is, as an example, there's only one group of people that seems to be eligible for this thing called reparations. I think it's all connected up, but putting the connections together, and at the same time weaving in on this channel notions of sovereignty, which is connected to, for me, introducing notions of common law, which is connected to natural law, which is connected to divine law. And again, divine law, you know, we can be looking at, you know, taking references from the Bible, but from other sources too, from Kemet and from the Americas as well, to I suppose put forward a narrative, to rewrite a narrative which restores and brings about a renaissance and brings about a restitution for the ways and spirit of our ancient mothers and fathers, who I'm going to say now, for me, is Set and Orsar, or more commonly known as Isis and Horus. Again, I'll be sharing more about that within the channel. The next video that you're likely to see on here will probably be a public proclamation of my nationality and my sovereignty as Indigenous, Aboriginal and organic to these islands, with it's a proclamation, and also I'm serving a notice upon, it's an earlier video where I served it upon Elizabeth II, I suppose calling her and her tribe, and her tribe is the Crown and all its agents and agencies, out on the fact that they being a foreign entity, allegedly and supposedly offering good service and governance to the sovereigns of these islands, and they have not, to say the least. But you will be able to watch that video shortly when I put it up, and I've got some other videos as well that we're talking about that broad topic of about being Indigenous, Aboriginal, organic, sovereign, and seeking to restore back to the land common law, and how that might be achieved. I'm waffling a little bit here, but I'll be drawing upon current affairs, geopolitics, and weaving that into the narrative, and to contemporize what it is that I'm saying, and making the links, as I say, between what's happening in the world in 2024 and how that relates to a narrative that we're now beginning to find out is basically a lie, and that history has clearly been written by the victor, but just to work out who the victors are and who the perpetrators are in this scheme, and to help people from the Caribbean, but also those not from the Caribbean, to comprehend better who the people from the Caribbean really are in relation to these islands that we call Britain. Okay, I waffled on for there. Just watch the channel and see what pops up. I'll also be, just to sort of say, I'll be drawing on things like UNDRIP. That's the United Nations Declarations of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. I'll be looking at Jasara Nasara as well, which is the Global Economic Securities and Restoration Act. And again, making links with those primary documents. One of them is actually international law and supreme law of the land, which all nations of the world have signed up to. It's well worth a look. That's Jasara Nasara, and UNDRIP, which is the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So look forward to delivering some of those. Some of those videos have already been pre-recorded. I've managed to be able to find them from the website that was taken down. The channels that were taken down, 3 of them. In fact, it's 3 or 4. The first one, been running for quite some time, just took it. The next 2 that I tried to set up, I didn't even get a chance to post any videos before they got taken down. I'm not too sure why. I've obviously breached some guidelines of YouTube's. Don't know what they could be. Yes, I do talk about some of the things that have happened over the last 4 years. I do talk about politics, etc. As I say, geopolitics, but also politics as relating to the UK and the shenanigans that are going on at the minute. I also link it to not so much sports and entertainment, but like things that are going on in all forms of human activity that we engage in here in the UK. So till the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong.